everything's on. Did you plug everything in?
It seems I seem to have done everything correctly, but my brain's a little mashed potatoes. So
Why are you so mashed potatoes? Have you not worked 2 weeks straight over the holidays in your life?
I know.
Is that
I
a
had
new thing for you?
The family, the fiestas right into the 3-on-3 tournament. So I'm tired,
I know.
but that's okay. It was a good tournament.
Yeah.
Good tournament. A lot of fun was had. I was hoping I would get some crazy story, like some crazy parent story, but
Yeah.
everyone was pretty well behaved.
Really?
Yeah. There was no, and we had a couple stars of the show out too that were
Yeah,
there, where
yeah.
we would expect some
Yeah.
craziness, but
Yeah.
everybody was well behaved. It was good.
That's so. I don't think you explained what tournament you're talking
Yeah,
about.
sorry. Yeah. No context.
Everybody said we must have missed the first half.
Yeah, we did our. I talk like I assume people know what I'm talking about. We had our annual. How many years now?
Well, I used to do it. I used to do cross ice 3-on-3 with a skill combination.
Yeah.
And then in 2013, we started doing a Christmas
Just the
tournament.
3-on-3, yeah.
Just cross ice 3-on-3.
So this would have been our 9th annual.
Yeah, it would be. Well, yeah, 9th.
9th annual Christmas 3-on-3 tournament, which is sick. It's so fun. The kids have so much fun. I have so much fun watching.
Yeah.
And so we do. It's like a full day for a couple days because we have different age groups, whatever. And it's sweet. We get the kids jerseys, and they got their little mini Stanley Cup trophy they win at the end. And we had a big overtime winning goal last night.
Like for a championship game?
Yeah, the U.
It happens a lot.
It was the U. Actually, I posted this on the PowerTech Hockey Instagram. So not the podcast one that people look at, but our partner account.
Yeah.
I posted the story of it was the U15s, so the 2008 born kids.
Yeah.
It was Eddie.
Oh yeah.
Eddie. He scored overtime goal.
Yeah.
He did. It looked almost exactly like Connor Bedard's goal in overtime.
No kidding.
Almost exactly.
He's a skilled guy.
Yeah, I know. So I posted them. Them side by side.
Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie.
He's a very skilled player.
Yeah. So I posted them kind of side by side because it was almost the same thing, but he was coming down the left side instead of the right side. But it was the same thing, like 1, 2, 3 through 3 guys, and then backhand deke around the goalie.
Good for him
To put it in. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Huge OT win. But anyways, just fun day. But it's buzzing. Sometimes we have a couple rinks going. Sometimes it's just a zoo in here. So just keeping everything running smoothly, and it was smooth. So it was good.
It's good.
And that's all for that.
It's so funny like that you say that though, because there's so many of the 3-on-3 tournaments where parents are like they start building their 3-on-3 team a year in advance.
Yeah.
And they take it so seriously, but for the kids it's just pure fun.
Yeah, or they try to jimmy rig the rules.
Yeah.
So we have like normally we do a 3 triple. It's mostly travel kids that play, but we'll do 3 AAA kids per team kind of limit.
Yeah.
But then people will try to get like a AAA kid, but he's like a year younger.
Yeah.
Or
but
like
he's the best in the world.
Yeah, or their goalie's a AAA player,
Yeah.
so like it's kind
Just
of
couldn't find a goalie.
I know it's so annoying. So it's like they get and then the other parents will pick up on it, and then they start getting pissed off because they got extra AAA guys, whatever. So
that was funny. My kid's favorite time of the year. He was here at Christmas, and he wishes they had one for OHL and college guys.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was thinking when we were setting this one up that it would be really nice if we did that.
For sure.
But I don't know if it would work because just with guys' schedules and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it seems to be the problem.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
And they do need a break.
Yeah, right. So it's like for the junior guys, like when they're home for 3 days for Christmas, it's like, do they really want to spend one of those days playing a full day hockey tournament? Like probably not.
And you're exhausted at the end, these guys, because they play minimum 4 games.
Right. Yeah. So you have a minimum 4 games in the day. Yeah, that's right.
And it might be 6.
Yeah. So it's
amazing.
But it's a really fun day, and it's that's what would be great if we could have a tournament like that. But maybe we'd do something like that in the summertime. Yeah. When they're here, they're off. We could set something like that up because we had our summer league on the Sundays, whatever, which was good. But maybe if we made a tournament towards the end of summer or something, and that'd be cool. But yeah. Anyways, do you have any other bullshit talk?
The only thing I was gonna say is watching hockey. One thing that bugs me.
This will lead into my thing.
Oh,
so
really?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Is goal celebrations, man.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know why this is supposed to be old school, but it's like nothing. There's other things that bother me, but when someone scores a goal and they skate away from the team and they do whatever the celebration, the ice scrape, the bow and arrow, the going to the fans and doing all that stuff, it's like,
I know.
It drives me bananas. I'd just like to see guys score a goal. Just score a goal, and you should be thrilled. But you got your 5 guys on the ice with you that were with you, and that's who you should.
Yeah, there's a limit of the celebration thing, and then like there's a way to do it. My dad used to say this to me all the time when I was a kid. He would say this was his line: "Act like you've done it before."
Yeah,
that's that would be his.
Yeah, seriously,
that would be his line. And you see that a lot in other sports too, though, like the showboat, flashy after the goal thing, or after the basket or the touchdown or whatever it is. And that kind of stuff bugs me too.
Yeah.
Do you see after Bedard's goal, he did the skate away, did the heartbreaker thing?
Like no, I didn't see.
So he scored it in overtime, and then this is one that the kids like doing. You see how many kids did it yesterday in the tournament? They'd score a goal, and you draw a heart, and then you punch it like you're breaking the heart, kind of thing.
Cool.
That's the big one. That's the big one right now. Speaking,
you don't need to though.
No, you don't.
That's my thing is you don't need to. Because the reason I was thinking about this because a couple weeks ago one of the boys was telling me, "Hey, coach, what was your celly when you scored?"
Yeah, you said this.
I went like this.
Yeah, you're happy that you scored.
She was explaining his celly. I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm not gonna break his heart and say I think it's shit, but because they're kids and they do what they do, and I don't mind when little kids do it, and because they're emulating the big dogs, right?
Yeah, whatever.
But when I see a 16-year-old or a 25-year-old do something ridiculous, I just sit there and go, "Oh boy, oh boy,
I know,
oh boy."
It's funny.
No, I was just looking at with the Christmas tournaments. We got the last half of the season coming, and so some of the guys are at the age where they're gonna get scouting, but I don't even want to talk about necessarily being scouted because that's whatever. It's just about getting noticed or being valuable on your team and stuff like that. I was gonna say just some things that would help a player out, especially if they're getting scouted. But it helps you out all in your game anyways, no matter how you look at it. Is like once you get past, like obviously you have to have a basic skill level, right? You can't play AAA unless you can skate to a certain level and stuff, or junior, pro, and all that kind of stuff. So you got to have a basic skill level, which skating, shooting, passing, and all that stuff, like basic. And then after that, what's going to help you? Because it's easy to just say work on your skating and all that kind of stuff. Those are the attributes that you just base level need to have.
Yeah, that's part of the course.
What are other things that and this is talking to scouts and stuff like this is basically me talking to scouts and stuff, things that we like and they like. So one of the first things that after the basic skill level that separates people from getting noticed, drafted, or their coach really liking them and stuff like that, or being used in useful situations and stuff like that is number one would be your compete level. Okay, and that's used loosely sometimes, right? Like, what is that? So anyways, I just put like your effort, but then your second effort. So a lot of times you'll see guys like really battling for that puck, or like just watching a kid last night in a corner that it was like he was going as hard as most people do, but then it was like he gave that extra push and he drove that puck through that pile. That's like that second effort. Like you could have just did effort, but it's that second effort where it's like, no, I'm getting through this thing. I'm determined. I'm going to get that through. And having that play after play after play is like what I call compete, right? That's one of the competes. It's that second effort. It's but with the compete, it would be what I call pushback. So it's easier to compete when things are when you're playing equal or less. But when you look at guys that have that pushback, so using a quote from Steve Ott, we were talking here, and then I heard it from Theo Fleury the other day. Just two different ways of saying it, but it was like there's a high percentage of the players that are bluffers.
Yeah,
right,
for sure.
So that's what I'm talking about. Completing that pushback is like when it comes down to competing, like some guys will compete to a certain point where you take like a Theo Fleury or Steve Ott. Well, Steve wasn't the biggest guy either. That's how our conversation started. I said, what was the thing that, like, you not being the biggest guy in the world, what was it that separated you from and being like a rat and like almost a tough guy, like a middleweight, but like a gritty Brad Marchand type of guy. But and he said like for him it was like I knew that 90% of the guys I played with would bluff. So guys were toughened to a point, but he would actually do something serious to you if need be, or for the fun of it. So if you're coming at me 6 inches taller and you're gonna whatever try to run me, you'd probably have a stick coming through your head. And he wouldn't bluff that. If he said he was going to do it, he would do it. And that was Theo Fleury too, right? It was like a 5-foot little guy. That's how he survived. He was obviously, that base skill level was there and plus to play in the NHL, but that compete level was off the charts that only a small percentage would have. So no one ever scared them because they would do whatever they had to do. So it was that pushback. If you push me, I'll push you back even harder, even though the size wasn't there. So that's one of the things, like, and I would agree with that. Like, especially now watching the amount of junior hockey I'm watching now is like there's a lot of bluffers that talk and chirp and say they're going to do something, or they're going to talk about, yeah, whatever, I'll straighten out, whatever, and then they never do it because it's not necessarily necessary. But the guys that do, like when Arbor Jack-I played in the OHL last year, he wasn't bluffing. Maybe he was sometimes, but no one ever bought that he was bluffing. So that compete level, and it's not about beating people
I
up.
was going to get into that, yeah.
Yeah, it's not that, but it's like, but it is that. It's a huge part because that's where a lot of guys back away, is when it gets physically demanding, right? So if you're like a skilled player, like a really skilled player, that's you're not a tough guy, let's call it. It's you this is what I'm talking about, is that pushback is still that you're going to go through that wall and still continue to play your game as hard as you did as if it was an easier game.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, a couple things on that. I think the first, talking about it in terms of, when you talk about compete, in terms of being the tough guy kind of thing, I think it's just the easiest way to give the example because it's so obvious what you're talking about. So when you're talking about the bluff part, like when you're talking about guys bluff, I think the easiest example of that is the
easiest
fight.
one that comes to your mind.
Yeah. I'm not saying there aren't others, but my point being, I remember coming to that realization, and you told me this story way later, but I remember coming to that realization my first junior camp, because I was when I got into my first hockey fight, and I went and fought the guy that was supposed to be like the tough guy, because I saw nobody would do it. I was like, nobody's fighting this guy. And he was like yapping the bench, and like no one was doing anything. So I went and I did it, and the guy beat me up, but I did fine. Like, he won the fight. It was my first black eye, which I thought was cool, which I think I've said that before. Yeah. But I did fine. And I remember walking out after just like, that was like the toughest guy, you know? And you start to realize when you play that guys do a lot of yapping. And when you mentioned a guy like Steve Ott or Theo Fleury, how they weren't scared, I would bet that they would still be scared or have like a bit of that fear, that nervous energy, but they just would do it anyways.
They face fear.
Yeah. And I think that's where the difference is, because, and that plays into kind of the next part, talking about just how you learn to compete and give a second effort, is you do things despite having the fear or you're tired or whatever, you just do things anyways. And I remember with the easiest example again is fighting, is because whenever you go to get into a confrontational situation where there's going to be like physical violence, you're a human, so you're going to be nervous about it. Like, you're going to be scared of what's going to happen to a certain degree, fearful, whatever the word is that you want to fill in. There's going to be something in you that is, you're on guard, and that on guard feeling can manifest as fear or whatever it is. But you'd go and just do it anyways, and that is where guys make the separation, right? So when it comes to a fight, if you're going to stand in there and potentially get your head knocked off by somebody that's stronger than you, like, that takes a certain level of a certain amount of balls to be able to do that. And a lot of guys will say they're going to do it, but they won't actually. And if you can call people on their bluffs, you can win a lot of battles that way, not just in the fighting sense, but when it's a battle in the corner or when you're tired at the end of a shift. If you're just willing to push it that extra step, that one step further, you're just willing to go there when other guys aren't willing to do that, then you're going to be the one coming out on top in more situations. It's not just fighting, you know?
No, it's not just fighting. Like it's the goal scorer that needs to get his ass to the net to score goals. And the bluffing part is like, some guys will do it when they know that they're playing a game where it's getting to the net, they get a little bit of a lean or they get a little bit of a push, but it's when you're going against guys that are back checking you hard, or a guy that's boxing you out hard and you're getting a stick, and to get to that net actually hurts, or it's not comfortable, we'll say, then those are the guys, is what I'm talking about, is that compete level becomes, okay, it's being the winger going into that corner with a D that he's going to, like back in my days, Hatchers or Tenortis, guys like that they're going to punish you, Buka Boom, that are just going to beat your head in as you go into that corner. And you've got to do that 30 times a night. That compete is going to be, well, it doesn't matter. If it's 31, I'm going 31. I'm going to come out every single time, or I refuse to back down. It's the defenseman knowing that you have Tom Wilson coming down on you and not finding a way to take the easy way. It's like making that hard play, taking that hit to move the puck out and stuff like that. That's because there's a lot of ways to fake the game, right? Like you can go in a corner real hard. Like, and I can see it. I can see when fear comes into guys, or when they don't want. Well, I guess it's fear. They don't want to go into that battle because they go into, like, say it's a winger going to a corner real hard, but then they look at the number on the back and they go, well, it's just not as hard as they usually go, or they don't finish that check as hard as they usually do. That's bluffing. That's bluffing. You're picking and choosing, right? So you take some guys that just do that against any person at all time, and that's what that small percentage does that.
Yeah, and I think maybe to give a not physical example, if you're a guy that is supposed to be the goal scorer, it's wanting to be the guy who has to do the job. So that's the blaming, it's someone else's fault that we didn't score. Or when it's like the big moment in the big game, you're the guy that it's on you and you want it to be on you to make a difference in that moment, as opposed to, well, my winger was no good, or my whoever else didn't do it. Like that little bit of blaming stuff, I think that's an element of that can be an element of the compete quality also. It's like, if you're a competitive person and you're willing to give that second, third effort, then it's your responsibility. And you wanting it to be that it's your responsibility. You wanting that as a part of your game, like I think that's an important part of it too. And it has nothing to do with being physical. It's like you want to go and be the difference maker. Like that is an element of that compete thing. Like you're going to go do what it takes to be the guy that gets the goal or makes the play or keeps the puck in at the blue line or whatever it is to make it work when the game's tight and it's a big moment. I think that's another element of it too. Has nothing to do with being physical at all. It's just like you have that mentality, right? And I think a guy like Crosby is the best example of that I can think of. Where it's just
a great example.
It doesn't matter what part of the game you're talking about, whether it's win a face-off, block a shot, make a play to keep the puck in, get into a fight, finish a hit, like get in somebody's way, go to the net, make it in an uncomfortable situation, whatever color you want to paint it. He's a guy that will do that. And I think he's probably the best example of that. And my last thing with the compete, because I think it's important, is that's something you can train. Like you can make that a skill, like giving a second and third effort. If you can be consciously aware of it and you can tell yourself in your head when you're in practice or when you're in your games, like you make that a focus. Like I'm going to make sure I give a second effort on the back check or a second effort if I lose a battle or whatever it is. That was something that I never did. I never thought of it at the time as a thing to do. And it's something that was definitely called into question on me by coaches or by my dad mostly. But coaches and stuff too would say that, like, I don't see that you're battling. Like, it doesn't look like you want to win the puck and that kind of thing. And it never occurred to me to try to train it like I would any other skill, to think about it in practice, to try to do that when I have the moment when we're doing a battle drill. Like that never occurred to me to try to practice that to make it better, but I really believe you can sharpen that just like anything else.
Yeah, you got to be aware of it, right?
Yeah.
If you're not aware of it, you wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a skill itself. The other thing would be body language, and this is a big one for me. And a lot of people would think like, oh, okay, body language, how big of a deal is it? It's actually huge. It comes out in a lot of different ways. So body language is a reflection of your attitude, right? It's if you have good body language, you never look defeated, and if you have bad body language, it looks like the other team can own you. So like a couple simple examples of bad body language is when things don't go your way. It's the stick slam. It's the shrugging of the shoulders or the leaning back, like everything sucks right now. And it's like when you show that, you show like your mind is weak, right? And it shows like the other team that, okay, we've got this guy now because he's flustered. And the other thing that it shows it shows that your focus is on you rather than necessarily the team, right? Because typically what it is if you don't get a good pass and you give the bad body language, that's because you're not happy with the result that you're getting, rather than just keep working, right? So that would be one, and then the other sign of body language would be on the bench is when guys sulk, shoulders shrug, and they're not in the game with their team because they're having a pity party with themselves. It shows and there's, make no mistake of this. Talk to a couple of scouts that sometimes sit directly or oftentimes sit directly or stand directly across from benches just to watch body language, because it reveals a lot of a player. Like if a player has a great shift, right, you're going to come back to the bench and he's like, "Let's go, boys," because he's enthusiastic and we're having a great game. It's easy to be enthusiastic and fist pump and like everything's going well. And you take that same person when things aren't going well, or they had a bad shift, made a mistake, got scored on, missed a goal, got hit, dirty, whatever, and they come back to the bench and their demeanor changes and they go into sulk mode. That goes into your attitude, right? It's like it's always about you. Yep. And it shows. So the bottom line with that is, if someone's watching you, whether it's a coach, mom, dad, scout, anybody, if they watch that, it's like it reflects a poor attitude and a weak mental state, to be honest with you, because what you're doing is you're focusing on what happened and you're dwelling on it for too long. So it takes you in a mental state that is not good for performance. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is you're putting that on other people. Now, other people choose whether they want to accept that attitude or not. But like we're talking younger kids, it's like they don't necessarily know how to deal with that, right?
Yep.
But you take that attitude and you throw it on other people. That's not healthy for your team. So when people are watching you, or even a coach that's tuned in and dialed in and watches his bench and he sees someone with bad body language, it's like it's not a good thing. And coaches should be somewhat aware that player might not be the right guy to be putting on the ice right now, or at least need to be talked to.
Yeah.
And not yelled at, but spoken to, like snap out of it, bad body language. And it's really important.
I think that, man, this is one of the biggest things that I key in on when I'm watching kids. So, example from the tournament, actually. So it was the 09 age, so U14. So there's a team that threw like 3-on-3 for nothing, like fun tournament, right? Doesn't mean anything. So, but when you're kids, it means something though. So this is where you can see how kids react to certain situations, right? So we had this one team, they had won every single game up to the finals. Another team had lost a game, then won a couple games, whatever. So it was these two teams in the finals, and they were buddies, right? So they were on the same actual AAA team, but they were on different teams for the final of this tournament. And this was the first game where the one team was behind and they were losing. And you started to see what comes out when we're in a bad situation. And it is one of the most unattractive things that I can see in a player is when they turn into like a suck. And you use the word their demeanor changes. I wrote down like there's a change in their tone. So now the team environment changes. And I think that's why it's such a problem. And you can't underestimate how important it is because it's cancer. It spreads so fast because not only will other kids also potentially get down, the kids that don't and still maintain a good attitude look at you like you're a pain in the ass, right? So it's cancerous in that it spreads through the team, and if it doesn't, it divides the team because the guys that are trying to keep the good attitude look at you like you're a problem, right? So that's a really important thing to key in on with yourself, because when things start to get tough, if you turn into a baby and you're complaining or whining or it's somebody else's fault, or you start yelling at each other, all those types of things, people pick up on that. I was picking up on it in a 3-on-3 tournament. That means nothing. I'm watching it and I'm getting annoyed when I'm watching these kids. Like when kids are sucky and they have that sucky attitude and whether they're down a goal or whatever the reason is, that is one of the most annoying and irritating things to me if I'm like in a coaching role or in a role where I have some kind of say over what the kids are doing. It's so annoying, man.
Yeah, it's the worst.
And it makes me not want to help you as a player.
It makes it very tough.
And I think that's why it's really important to have an environment where that's not allowed. And that's one thing I'm really proud of with what we create here is like that is not allowed. when you're here. As soon as that creeps in, even a slip, it's like right away, like we are stomping that out. Like figure it out, quit being a suck. And I had a really good talk with one of our junior guys that comes in here because he was having some issues with like playing time, whatever, and then he might be going to a different team. And he was talking to me about it. And I remember he walked out after talking with some of their team staff, and he was crying about like what was going on. And I was so proud of him because he was really upset, which was fine. Like you can be upset. And I talked to him like in the moments after and was just like, hey, like nothing has to change unless you decide it's going to change. Like nothing, all the processes you have in place, you can keep working hard, you keep working out, you keep trying to get better, you keep trying to progress to achieve the next goal that you have. All that can stay the same unless you mentally let it be different than that, you know? And he texted me a couple days later and was like, hey, like, this is what I've decided. This is what I'm doing. I made a plan. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep everything going. I'll see you in the gym on Monday. Beautiful. Beautiful. And this is a kid. He's 17 years old, this kid, you know? And it's awesome to see. And you can really fix that because that even more reinforces me wanting to help get this kid into the position he wants to be in, you know? So it's a really, really important thing. It can't be understated how important that is.
Yeah. Well, the body language, even with goals. As I was talking about the goal celebrations,
yep.
when you do that, look at me, look what I did. That's a really self-centered way of celebrating a goal. And I know guys are happy, but if you look at it from like think about it, if you're watching a hockey game and you see someone score, and of course you're putting your arms up and you're excited, like you are excited, but how do you respond to your goal? Like you said, you've done it before. Like that's a very common statement. It looked like you've done it before, but it's very true. It's not like your emotions are weighed right out of you on a you scored a third goal of a 3-1. Well, it doesn't matter what goal it is. It's like, okay, you scored a goal. Like it's like freaking right. You're happy and you're good and you're thanking your teammates and you know we're in it together. But your demeanor's not like off the charts.
Yeah,
that it changes everything about you. Right. Like and now you're all giddy and it's like okay, scored a goal. That's perfect, right?
Yep.
And another one that I see big time in junior. I can't say the same in the NHL because I don't go to enough live games. Is in junior is body language changes. Okay, so let's say someone gets hit and there's a scrum and there's a possible fight. There's a lot of guys that it's a bluff, and it's a body language thing where instead of standing in there, I'm not saying standing there and dropping the gloves.
Oh yeah.
Well, they get busy all of a sudden, right? They're you know they look at the score clock. What's the score? No. This is. You're walking away from it, man. Your body language is telling me you don't want any part of this, right? And it's you lose a battle there. And I'm not again. It's not about scrapping. It's not about whatever. It's not about fighting any of that. It's what it is about is like standing in there and not bluffing and not the body language of defeat where it's like someone's pushing you around and you kind of turtle out and you look at the score clock and all of a sudden something distracts you from what's actually going on.
You know what though, man? Like honestly, I don't like because we say it a lot. Like the caveat, it's always the caveat of like you don't have to be a fighter and you don't have to.
Well, you do though.
But yeah, that's what I mean. Like
no. This is hockey.
Like you should. I don't care who you are, what team you play on. If it comes down to it, and you have to get into like a physical altercation with somebody in the game, you should have that capacity.
You have to stand up.
Yeah, you should be able to stand up. At the very least, it being a defensive posture, you should be able to handle that situation. And a lot of the problem that I find watching the junior stuff is exactly what you're talking about is everybody's busy. Everyone doesn't want to get in that. And I'm not saying that has to be the focal point of your game, but you should have the capacity to take care of that if it happens, you know? And that was something that I took a lot of pride in through junior too, is like I was not the toughest guy. I was not a fighter. I was not none of that. But if I needed to, or it was time to, or we needed one, or whatever it was, I could do it. I could be the one to do it. And that's what was nice about when you talk about the bluff thing, is that people wouldn't know if I was bluffing, right?
Yeah.
And you said I'm not at all comparing myself to Arbor Jacka because he was way tougher than I ever was playing. But that ability is like you don't know what he's gonna do.
That's right.
Like that is a very good quality to have when you're a player. So when you get into those situations, it's not that you have to get in a fight necessarily. But you should be able to if you needed to, you know?
And it's not about winning fights.
No.
Like my brother and I were just talking about that the other day. It's like you don't have to be like, so if you're in a scrum and someone wants to kind of be pushy and aggressive, like you don't even have to drop the gloves, but instead of getting busy and looking at the score clock and fixing your nails, you can hug them, like you can bring them in real close and not choke. Well, choke it with it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do.
Yeah.
You don't have to fight, but it's about not backing down. So it's the same thing as, what's the difference? So yeah, for people that say you don't have to, fighting's not important. It's okay. Let's eliminate the word fight and put it into battle. The game of hockey is a bunch of battles, right? So it's no different than going into that corner with, if one guy, you go in the corner and you slow up or you don't hit him quite as hard as you do everyone else, that's because you're intimidated. If you're intimidated, you lose that battle every time. So that's bluffing. That's not the highest compete. So it's like just a different form, but you can hide some of them in different ways. So the game is off a face-off, right? If you're locked up with somebody, that is a battle. And every time that you step away from a battle or don't engage in the battle, you're one notch. He owns you one more time, or just has a little bit of an advantage on you. And you do that enough times in a game, and then you lose. I'm not saying you lose the game as a team, but you lose your compete level. You lose that inch for inch every shift. Like, so every inch, whatever someone wants to give you, you want to be able to stand there and give it back.
Yeah.
And then some.
I go back to Crosby on this too, because he's a good example, because he's not a tough guy, right? But when he gets into that situation, anytime there's a scrum, he's got somebody. And when I remember watching we went to see Windsor and Guelph play last week or whatever. And the amount of little scrums that resolve themselves because guys just walk away from it, it's a little bit embarrassing, because it's just like, just stay locked up until the whole situation diffuses. Don't, like, when you guys are in the middle of a tussle, just like push them off and walk away. Like, you stay in it until the battle's over, And that's why I go back to Crosby, because he's not the guy that's going to go fight Ryan Reeves. But every time there's a scrum, he'll be right in the middle of it as long as it's necessary. And if it gets to the real extreme where somebody's really on him or whatever, he will fight. He would, right? So that is more what I'm talking about, where it's you just have the capability, because that's a big element of staying in that. The way you explain that is beautiful too. That is an element, yeah, because that is a battle. That's what it is. That is also a battle. And when people say, "Oh, you got to be able to battle and compete," it's like that's one of them.
Well, it's not just a fight. It's not just a hit. It's a face-off. It's every little inch of the game is a battle.
Yep.
And so this is where I don't know if you'll ever convince me otherwise, but the game has changed into a faster, skilled, and it's awesome. But you will never ever. I don't think you can ever convince me that if you take size, not necessarily size, but that hard compete, but I'll use size and heavy hitting, that heavy game. I don't. If you have that, you have a better chance of winning, my opinion.
You have a better chance of winning, and the game without that becomes just fundamentally uninteresting, right? Because it's like it ends up turning into, if you watch soccer, like, one of the fundamental differences between watching soccer and watching hockey is there's a threat of violence in hockey that makes the game interesting, right? Because now this is more like a war as opposed to just a skill game, And I'm not saying, like, soccer is a great sport. I'm not saying anything bad about soccer, so sorry if anyone doesn't like that. But one of the baseline differences is it's fast, it's big, it's hard. That's what hockey is about. Soccer's not about that. If you take that out of hockey, and now it's different. Yeah. Right? It's not the same game anymore.
Yeah. I was talking to one of my players last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. And I was saying, because social media acts as social media, everybody knows everybody a little bit, right? Like, it wouldn't be uncommon for you and I play on the same team, right? We're teammates.
Yep.
And then you go text Eric that plays in whatever. What team? I don't know what team it was. What kind of thing?
League or?
No, Hamilton. Any league, but let's say in your own league.
Oh yeah.
You call
Hamilton,
Eric in Hamilton, and your FaceTime is, "Oh, this is my buddy Andy. Oh, hey, how you doing, man?" We talk. We could actually become a little bit social, a little bit of friends. That wasn't like that before, right? Yep. So now you can go to games, and this is what I'm talking to one of my players about, is like now people know you a little bit, or you've skated with people, because we do some training here. So that kid could have been one of the kids that we train, and all of a sudden you're lining up in a face-off. It's like, hey buddy, how you doing? Take it easy on me tonight, eh? Joking around. That's a form of, that guy doesn't want a piece of you. And that's what I was saying. You don't, when it goes in those in between those whistles.
Yeah, no friends.
If it's, hey buddy, how you doing? And say, don't think this is going to be an easy night, bud. And it's not your friend anymore. Because if you allow that friendship and you take it like a little bit easy on your friend or somebody you have an acquaintance with, they won. They're taken from you now. So like the friendship game, right?
Yeah.
It's another little battle there.
Yeah, I love we talk about it like that, but this was the first time I think you've put it in words, how that part of the game is just as much of a battle as a puck battle or a face-off battle or whatever. Man. You know, that is exactly well said. Well done.
So the next one that I want to talk about is team player. Like, and you might not see that, you might not think that a scout notices that, but you actually knows that. A team player, well, first of all, no coach, no team that's selecting you, if they want you on your team or scout, wants a guy that's an individual that thinks of himself. Because it shows in body language, it shows in the things that you do, decisions that you make on the ice. So they want team players, because a rising tide raises all ships, right? What can I do to be better? So like the typical, a good example would be if you, well, I'll use one close to home where you're playing good hockey and you just like, well, I want to get on the power play too. It's like, but maybe that's just not your role. But maybe it's just not your role right now. So does that affect your game? A team player is going to do their job to the best of their ability, right? And it doesn't like, and of course you want more, but you're going to do your job. You're going to do it to the best of your ability. You don't win with selfish guys. It's just not going to happen. So you're going to do little things, right? Little things that are going to help your team win, and they might not be the most glamorous thing. A team player is going to be able to read the game and take care of teammates. So tough, not tough, whatever. If one of your guys gets maybe a dirty shot or a shot, you might be a team guy, whether he's going to win or lose that battle again, is going to at least step in there and stand up for his guy. Right? Or you're going to read the game from a situational standpoint as a team player, right? So let's say it's an empty net and you're down by a goal, up by a goal, whatever it is, but you've got an empty net. And the other team has an empty net, and you get the puck. A team player situationally is going to read the game and say, what's the most important aspect of the game right now? Is to sit on this lead, or is it to take a chance and fire it and get myself another goal, right? The most important thing is that puck gets out, unless the coach tells you otherwise. Yep. But it's to make a situational play, read the game, thinking of the team, not about your own individual stats or your own individual glory. It's no matter who you are, is being able to, be willing to block that shot, even though that might not be your skill set or your go-to asset as a player. But you got to be willing to get in front of shots, or, I'm just using a couple examples there.
Yeah.
But see what your team needs at certain times, right? So like you could be a really tough guy too, like a real good grinder guy, and have a chance to bury someone. Like, I mean, bury someone and it's a 2-2 game with 5 minutes left. And then you might want to say, like, at this point, it might be, this one might go overboard. So I might have to hold up a little bit and do more of a stick check. And finish it. So like it's a flip of a coin, because a lot of times when we talk about doing things for your team, it always comes, like, a lot of times it comes across as doing the really tough shit.
Yeah.
But sometimes the tough shit is for a tough guy to take it easy, right? And or even as a team, sometimes if you're running around and you're trying to throw, you're winning a game where the game needs to be a little bit more control. Maybe you don't have to hit quite as much. Like, it's just reading those little things in a game.
Yep.
That makes a huge difference. It's so managing situations, keeping pucks deep and not trying to over carry pucks in certain situations. It's face-offs, it's wall plays, it's boxing out, like all those little details that help your team. So like no one gets a free ride to the net when you're on the ice. Like, it's always like a little bit of a box out to help your team to be able to perform at their best. And sometimes it's energy when a team needs it, right? Like if you're sitting on a bench, you just seem like your team's flat. Like that doesn't mean you have to be flat. It's you can go do something, or you could do like find a way to get your team energized.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be through skating the puck through the neutral zone. It could be driving the net. It could be a big hit. It could be a great block shot, whatever, good stick. And then sometimes it's talking when it's needed. So sometimes you'll see that on the as well too. Is you'll see a quiet bench. It's kind of like the energy thing. But sometimes that's when you need to talk, and sometimes you need to shut the hell up. So one of the things about leadership too, right, and being a team guy is like I did an exercise like this with well, I had one of my friends that was a joint task force military guy, really good friend, and he taught me but he gave me a couple exercises where we had to do a task with these kids that we had, and he said, okay, so you're the leader, Eric. Your team has to do A, B, and C. So go. So the leadership qualities showed when you were the leader of the team and you're always given the direction and always telling people what to do, or everybody was talking and no one could hear the one leader, or you were told to appoint a leader and you couldn't let them lead. So the point is that sometimes as a leader, as a good teammate, even though you might be the best guy on the team or you're the like the loudest guy on the team and stuff, sometimes you have to take a step back and let someone else do it. Let someone else do their role. Like it can not always is not always you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's another thing with being a team player is little things like that.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes a really hard thing for people to understand the team concept.
That's what I was going to say, man. The being a team guy thing.
It's really hard.
Yep.
Because the thing is with being a team guy is that sometimes you have to admit a weakness, right? Because you might be the guy that gets the first, second, or third star every game, gets a little bit extra ice, gets the first half of a power play. Like you're the let's say you're first center and I'm second center, like, and we're both really good, but you're the guy. You're the guy. For me, what it should do is drive me. You should be able to raise me up. That would be good teammate, and I should be able to accept the fact that you are not necessarily accept that you're better, but understand that you bring just that little bit more to the team. And if I bring everything I got to the team, that our team is actually better.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you can be jealous. You can look at ice time. You can look at points. You can look at all these little things that could just erode at you and piss you off.
Yep.
And I would argue that, you take a combination of Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane. You take Malkin and Crosby. You take Draisaitl and Crosby. McDavid. I'm sure, or McDavid and Crosby. I'm sure there's times.
Draisaitl, McDavid.
Whatever. I'm in the league. Yeah. But you take those and you got egos.
Yeah.
You got pride. You've got, I want to be the guy too. But, if you want the team to win, sometimes you have to accept a role that's not exactly what you want it to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Hardest thing to learn when you're a teenager, because, maybe an analogy that is applicable. When you're in high school, the whole world feels like high school. As soon as you get a couple years out of high school, you realize how irrelevant high school is. And when you're a player, I had the same kind of epiphany thing when I went from junior into playing with the university, when it was like my whole world is about me and my hockey success, to the transitioning to it's about the team success. It was the same kind of, wow, was I off base moment, because I remember that I didn't truly become a complete team player where I can honestly say to myself, I wasn't doing that pretend team player thing. You know what I mean by that?
Which is huge.
Huge, where it's like you say the right things and you act like you're doing the right actions for the team, but your secret motivation is still for your success, where it's not actually for the team success. And I would probably put myself into that category more when I played junior, where it was like, people probably would have described me as a good team guy when I played junior, but my number one was still me. I remember that. My number one was still like, I want my ice. I want my points. I want my notoriety and success on the team. I want my letter. I want to wear a C or the A. I remember that distinctly in my head.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. A very close second, if I'm being honest with myself, was the team stuff. Like, I did care about the team, but not before me. Like, I still wanted me to be successful first, which makes sense to a certain degree, because when you're a kid growing up, like, you're the focal point of everything. Like, the world revolves around you until you're an adult and someone says, "Hey kid, it's actually not all about you."
Yeah.
So that transition happened when I finally was in university and I started playing genuinely I don't want to say not caring about my personal performance, but genuinely prioritizing what the team needed first over me. And the funny thing about that, the like paradox, is it was easier for me to play when I thought like that. Yeah. It was actually easier. It took a lot of pressure off when I didn't think of my personal numbers and my stats and whatever, because a lot of times, even if you're getting the stats or you're getting the points or the time or whatever, that doesn't mean you're playing well. That doesn't mean that you're having a good game or that you're contributing to the team's success, right? You can have all these goals, but like you said, if you're not a good team guy, like, you're going to run out of rope, because you're going to be cutting corners. If it's just about your success, then you're going to be doing things that maybe in the short term get you some benefit, but in the long term is not how you play. And I remember talking with kids about this, especially younger kids. If you're a younger player and you're better than everyone when you're young, yeah, the tendency can be to not play the game properly because it's frustrating that other kids can't do the same things you can do. So if you're the best player, it's so much easier for you to just skate through everybody and score, but that's not how you play. That's not going to make you a better hockey player. If you can raise the puck first, it's better in that moment to be the guy that shoots every time, because you're the one that can raise the puck, so you're probably going to score. Yeah. But you're not learning that actually in real hockey, that should have been a pass, or actually you can't skate through everyone when you're a defenseman every time. And those types of things, for your own selfish reasons, you'll prioritize instead of just playing properly. Yeah. And that was one thing that was really, really valuable to learn. And I wish I would have had it when I was in junior, and I didn't. Just by a few points, I wasn't quite there, and it would have been really helpful to have. And it's a hard thing. I vividly remember when I was playing junior, that tendency to, you want the spotlight. Like, you want and that's fine to a certain degree. I'm not saying you don't want to sacrifice your own success, because you do want to have that. But if you can genuinely prioritize team success partnered with your own success, as opposed to one before the other, then you'll be a lot better off personally playing and in the eyes of people watching and evaluating you.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, the funny thing is, as you said, most kids are the best kids are in youth hockey are the best kids. So goal scoring and all that stuff is just easier but once it levels out, when you get to a junior level, or maybe it's an elite AAA level or pro level, then roles become huge.
Yeah.
And if you cannot accept, I'm not saying accept that, let's say you're in your third year of junior and you're on the second line as a checker, but you never get a power play, get some penalty kill, and you're 19, let's say, you can have a burr up your ass very easy, because you want that. But the team doesn't need that. They've got their guys. So it's very easy, as you said, to have poopy pants about it. And sit there, I just want the chance. Like, let's face it, there's 5,000 people watching you. You would like to get the goals. You want the ice time. You want the scouts to say, wow, that guy did. But they're also looking at every time that checker, let's say, comes on the ice, he checks. That's a valuable thing. And of course you're trying to score goals, and of course you're doing everything, but your priority is to do your job to the absolute best of your ability and to help your team win. And if someone understands that, then all of a sudden they go on the ice and they do their job to help their team win, not just to have a good game. And some kids will never get a power play. Like Welly was saying that when he played junior, he never got a power play, but he played in the NHL. Mm-hmm. And he played in the NHL because he did a job really well. It was about the team. So if you can contribute to team success, then it makes you valuable at the higher levels.
Yep.
And you're not worried about the glory. Everybody wants it, man. Everybody wants it. But what you have to understand is that you either might not be good enough, or you're really good at something else. And if you can accept that and be on a winning team or help your team win, then you become valuable. And then it allows you a lot better chance to make a buck at it.
Yeah, I think this is why it's really important that you understand, just, you mentioning roles. I think this is why it's really important that you understand what you're good at, because if you can excel at the things you're good at, especially the younger you go, the lower the level, the more this is true. If you can excel at the things you're good at, that will lead to more points. And like everyone is worried about that. So even if just for selfish reasons, you just are worried about getting points, if you play like you're a point guy when you're not going to get as many points. If you're a really good, the power forward is the best example. If you're a really good power forward, you will get more points playing and excelling in that role, you know? So a guy like, let's take a Tom Wilson. There's another one. It's like big, strong hitter type player. If he tries to play like McDavid, he wouldn't get his 20, 30 goals a year. The reason he gets his 20, 30 a year is because he plays like him and he's good at it. So that's why it's so important that you identify what things you're good at, because if you can excel at the things you're good at in any role, especially the younger, like I said, the younger the level, the more that will translate into points. The more it will translate into points. Eric Lindros, we were talking about earlier, if that guy doesn't play where he's running people over, playing a powerful game, then he's not going to be as effective as he was. He just won't. So if you leave your strengths on the table and you try to make yourself into something you're not, you're going to contribute less, even if it's just points. Even if points are the only thing you're concerned about, all the things we just said, if you just throw that all in the garbage, like you don't care about the team, you don't care about any of that, and you just for purely selfish reasons just want points, you should still know what your role is, because that will make you produce more, just because that's what you're good at, right? So defenseman, forward, it doesn't matter. You know, you have to know that. That's a really important thing. Really, really lacking in minor hockey is that teaching roles, like who's good at what.
Yeah. And well, you're dealing with like the problem with the youth hockey. It's in, I get it. Is if a coach, especially a coach that's a dad or a coach that parents go, what the hell does this guy know? Mm-hmm. Right? Says to your son or your daughter or whatever that, you know, you're not really an offensive player. This is what we see. Like you're rubbing everyone the wrong way.
Yeah.
At the junior level, you can get away with that a heck of a lot more because people are getting paid and it's your choice to be there. But it's hard for kids to get that big time.
Yeah. Well, maybe as a strategy though, like, because I mean, this is what I would do if I was coaching a team of younger kids at the start of the year. I would do what we always talk about, like let this kid know what are the 2-3 things. Yep. But it can't be like we always say with when you're in a teaching role. So if you're a coach or a teacher, you can't tell them what the things are, right? So you need to like come up. I don't care if the kid's 10. You need to come up with an agreement with the kid about what the things are. So if I just say, hey, Johnny, like you're good at this, this, and this, then he's going to go to mom and dad and be like, well, coach said it's this, this, and this. And if mom and dad are just like, well, that's not what you're good at, but now there's conflict. Yeah. Whereas like, if you guys come up with them together, you know, so you have your 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 14-year-old, whatever, and you say, okay, what do you think you're good at? This is what I think you're good at. How can we combine these to make a list of things we agree upon so that you want to do those things? Because if I just say to a kid, you're not an offensive player, well, what kid wants to hear that? Yeah. Like no kid wants to hear that. Yeah. So if you're going to do this and try to lay out, and I think this is what I mean when I say I feel like it lacks in minor hockey, is it's either the coach doesn't know anything about how to teach roles or they're like dictating. Yeah. You're not an offensive player. Yeah. So you're going to do this. And what if the kid doesn't want to do that? Yeah. Well, and if you present it in a different way. But, right. So if you present that like at any level is like, we have this guy scores up a lot of our goals, Eric. Mm-hmm. What we want you to do, which is going to mean a lot to our team, that when you're on the ice, you're hard on those defensemen. You're finishing those checks every time. Wear them out all game, and you know you'll get your opportunities, but that'll wear them out for our top line to get their goals. That's important. It's critical. It's just as big as you getting a goal. Yeah. You're doing your job, running them shift after shift, being hard on them, giving them no space, so that by the end of the game, they're tired, you've done your job, and our team has an easier game to play against. That's a way to present it. Yeah, for sure. Because right? if you're supposed to be the head coach of the team, but somebody comes up to you and says, well, I think you're more of the assistant coach, you're gonna be like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you're the kid, like if I'm a kid and I think I'm a really good puck handler, and when you like we're talking and you don't even mention that, then it's like we're already starting not on the same page. Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's a huge thing I find with in the youth levels, like even up to the U16 thing. It's like I was talking to a couple of U16 kids the other day, and I was just like, oh yeah, like who are your who are your top players like right now, as in who's playing the best, you know? And they go, oh, well, like on paper, it's this guy, but I mean, nobody really, like no one's really doing anything the coach says. And we don't really know what the problem is because they've been struggling a little bit the last few weeks. And it's like, that's not a good thing.
No.
So if you're the coach, it's like, we need to have a reset here. And it can't just be you're telling us what to do, because that never works, man. It's like if you have a teenager at home and you just tell them what to do, how well does that work?
Yeah.
Like, that never works.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to come up with it together so they can understand the role situation.
Yeah.
And then that'll be a way better recipe for success just from a player. I remember being a player. It's like your coach tells you what you have to do. And what if you don't agree? If you don't agree, then we're not going to be on the same page, man. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The other one I had was work hard and committed in your D zone. So you don't have to be the best player in the world. If you want to get noticed, you want to have another chance, you want another options, you want to create options for yourself, is work as hard. Because I say this, like, I'm not saying this lightly. Most people, when I watch hockey, do not put the effort in their D zone the way they do in the offensive zone, because there's not as much glory.
Yeah.
But what if you made it glorious? And that's what I loved about lacrosse. If you play lacrosse, you have to be committed or more committed in your D zone than you are in the offensive zone. If you're not, you don't get to play. It's like critical. They teach that to you. It's drilled in your head. This is the game, defense. So you'll see guys on a lacrosse court, absolute battle, where you'll see guys in hockey float a little bit more because they want to put pucks in the net. But if you can show in a game that you're 1,000% committed to being good in your defensive zone. Like if you see a loose puck in your own end, are you going at it as hard as you would in the offensive zone? Are you working as hard to get that puck out or to make a good play out of your zone as you are as trying to get that puck to the net, trying to score a goal? And if you do that, you stand out you stick out like a sore thumb. Like a sore thumb.
Yep.
Can you imagine watching a hockey game? Because you don't see it that often. Like this is my next thing is like do something to stand out. But can you imagine going to a game? Because you don't see this very often, where someone is. You look at goals, you look at forechecks. But how often do you go to a game and you say, this kid comes back, like at a 13, 14-year-old kid, this kid just comes back to his own end as hard as he can, or picks up a guy. And when he gets there, he stops his feet. And when there's a loose puck, he's on it like white on rice. And he battles and battles. And like he doesn't give guys room to make plays.
Yeah.
That's a quality. And that's a quality that is so rare, especially in youth. And if you can make that something that you stand out in and actually commit to working as hard or harder. And I don't want to say harder because you'll be doing it both ends. But if you work as hard in your D zone as you do in your offensive zone, you become really, really valuable.
Yeah, here's a question then.
Yeah.
So every coach says exactly what you just said. Yeah. Well, let's say every coach says that.
Yeah.
A lot of them value the D zone prioritization, to use a word.
It's a word. It could be.
Yeah.
Might not be in the dictionary.
No, it's a word. I'm sure. How would you set up as a coach? How would you set up a reward system? I was kind of thinking of this in my head while you were talking. How do you set up a reward system for good defensive play where it's like, okay, if you do X thing, you get to play more? Or is it like where you try to flip the page where the value is on the D zone? I don't want to say more than the O zone, but if everybody wants this as coaches, like you want your team to be good defensively and you want what would you do to try to reinforce that or try to make that something you get bought into? I guess
youth hockey's a lot tougher.
Yeah.
Because you're managing fairness and equality and not pissing off parents and everyone paid the same amount, so it's like a little tougher.
Yeah.
But you could
even just in theory, like what would you do?
You get D zone face-offs. You get D zone face-offs. That's your extra reward. You get D zone.
Like we put your line out when there's a D zone face-off. Oh, I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because when you're trying to score a goal, people have no problem understanding that you put your top goal scorers on.
Okay. Right? So if you think of this, so if you're on the first power play, you can't wait for a penalty because you get to go.
Right.
So if you do exactly what you just said, if the goalie covers the puck, you guys get to go out. no matter what.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a good reward. I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we want to win those battles.
Yeah. Nice.
So if you, and then it's always pointing out the effort in the D zone. Because people don't get enough. Like, I mean, in junior and pro, you don't get to play if you're not good in your D zone, right? I could sit you the whole game and just say till you figure out how to play your own zone, or I'll send you to the minors, or you just don't get to play. But in youth hockey, there's a little bit of balancing act that you have to do. So you reward kids with a little bit extra. Mm-hmm. You know, you could even use it in a important face-offs, an offensive zone face-off. You can say, you know what, need to win the face-off. I know I could trust these guys, and the more that you explain to them that your first priority is defending and rewarding hard work, boxing out, all those things, then I think you get better results from it.
I like that. I like it. That's a good idea. I didn't think of that.
Well, you don't see stars of the game typically. If someone's got three points, I've seen this so many times. Someone's got 3 points in a game and you didn't notice them, but you got some other guy out there just banging bodies in his own zone, or defensive defenseman or centerman that just does everything really, really well in their own zone. They don't get necessarily the hype because there's no one cheers.
Have you ever played? You definitely haven't, but like fantasy sports?
Never.
So when I played, there would always be some version of like a fantasy sport thing going on.
Yeah.
And I would play just because to be part of the team, like I'd be in it, whatever, but I never really cared about it. But they would have the way they would, but basically your team, you draft players, you make a team, and then they give your players points based on their game performance. But you can get an equal number of points or almost the same number of points for a goal as a few hits. So it's valuable for you to draft Matt Martin because he's going to get 10 hits a game, and that's going to be 5 points for your team that night or whatever, right? And it would be really nice. The reason I bring that up is just it'd be really nice if there was, even just from the media hype machine, because they could control this, right? It's like the songs that are on the radio. The radio station picks what's popular because they're playing the song, right? So if a spotlight constantly goes to look how many hits this guy has, or like look how many shot blocks this guy has. Patrice Bergeron's first star of the game every game. He won 5 faceoffs, blocked 3 shots, and had an assist. It's like Brad Marchand had 2 goals and an assist, but Bergeron did all this other stuff. It's like whatever you put the highlight on, that can turn into what the reward is, right? That's what you make sexy. You make the shot block thing what people want to do. You know what I mean? So it would be nice if in hockey there was some of that. It would make for a more balanced game, so kids could see the value of some of these other things. But especially when you're young, if you tell kids that, hey, doing this other stuff is just as important as scoring, it's hard for them to see that because they don't see the reward on that, right? So if you can make some reward systems for those other things, I think that would be valuable for the kids.
Yeah. And then the last thing I would say, not last thing I would say, but I'm going to end it at this, is you want to, if you're, based on skill level, you got that base skill level, you want to stand out a little bit more. You have to have some sort of IQ, like some sort. So I remember I talked to one of the boys that we've trained before. It was like, he worked hard, and you just go after pucks and just work really hard, but nothing ever happened. Mm-hmm. It was always a dead play, right? So it was like an indication of the hockey IQ. Couldn't think the game, couldn't put pucks in the right places, and so basically the plays die with you. So if you have the puck, the play ends. It's not linked to another play like we talked about before. Plays just die when you get the puck or you're on the puck. And if you're that guy, then you want to look at how can I manage the game a little bit better? Like, what am I doing? What can I do differently? So that's something to keep in mind is when you're on the ice, if you got like this guy would carry the puck, good speed through the neutral zone, head kind of down, and he would be going and going and going, and then you end up in that left hand corner, and the play would die. Where if he would just communicate with his teammates, or his teammates communicate with him, and say, Eric, every time you go, I know exactly what you're going to do. Get there as hard as you can. But once you get to the top of circles, I'll be going to the net and he'll be coming high. Pick one. Or tell them both, go to the net. Just get that thing on the net. We'll both be there. So that the play just doesn't die with him in the corner and you're back checking. Mm-hmm. Or you got to scramble in the corner. Yep. So that's the other thing, is just understanding that when you have the puck or when you're on the ice, when there's plays to be made, it doesn't end as soon as you're around it. That something else happens. Yeah. So that's something that you can actually work on.
Yeah, very important.
Very, very, very important.
It takes we were saying this before, it takes the ability to ask the question though, right? That self-awareness of like, what actually happens when I get the puck, you know? And man, these are things that I never knew any of these things. Like I remember when I was a kid, like how valuable it would have been to say to myself, okay, when I get the puck, what actually happens? Like most of the time, like what happens? Like that would have been a nice thing to ask myself to know, right? Because if every play ends with, I get buried in the corner, or every play ends with a turnover at the blue line, or if I carry the puck 10 times a game, 3 of them are a turnover, 5 of them I got a shot on net, and whatever else. It's like, that would be good to know that information, you know? So it's,
if you're D, the shot's blocked every time. If you like to finish your hits, but every time you finish a hit, you're back checking after because nothing effective happened, then there's changes that need to be made in your game.
Yeah, just asking, the ability to ask the question and have an answer. Yeah, that's like half the battle, because if you just bring some awareness to it, I mean, that fixes not just hockey stuff. Like that fixes a lot of things, just life in general. If you just bring awareness to something, you can't help but improve it or make it better, because why would you not want to do that? Yeah. You know, so that's a really important thing too, is just be able to know what is the result of what you're doing. Like be able to make that play that needs to be made. You know what I mean? Yeah. Very good.
So at the end of the day, teams, scouts, coaches, teammates, they want guys that are good teammates, not selfish, not thinking about themselves. And if you wrap your head around that, you become a valuable asset. And even though mom and dad and maybe some of your teammates don't recognize that you didn't get maybe you did get 4 goals, but you didn't get all the points, people recognize that. I remember this clear as day, man. Coaching and who you think your stars are, and they're good, skilled guys and stuff, but there's, honestly, at the end of the day, when you're looking at winning hockey games, when the rubber meets the road, is you look down that bench and you look at not necessarily who's going to score, but who's not going to score, or who's going to not get scored on. You look at who's going to battle through this, who's going to, the game's getting a little bit gritty here, getting tough. I don't know if I can put this guy on. I know, but this guy, he'll take that hit and he'll get it off the wall and get it out, or he'll finish those checks. You look at different scenarios. So the media hype, as we talked about right from the beginning of the show, the hype and all that stuff is just hype. The coaches and the guys that run the teams have to make decisions on who gets to play and who gets to have important roles. And if you do one thing really well, or a bunch of things really well that impact the game, then you have a better chance of playing. And then if you play because you want your team to win and you're not worried about your individual stats, you just increase your odds again. And a lot of people don't see the team player, but people that know the game, that have a opportunity to select you, they know what they're looking for. And if you have some of those qualities, then you've increased your chances of playing at higher levels. Mm-hmm. Period.
Yeah. Right on, dude. Well, I'm not going to ruin that ending, so we'll leave it there. Going into next week. See you guys.